All right, so what we're going to be talking about, and this is really wanky. All right, we're still going to be working with adding and subtracting. This is a prerequisite. Remember, when we add and subtract, you are sorry, I went blank. You're basically having to take one number away from the other, and if you can't do that, remember, we may have to borrow from the neighbor. And I did a video once before about how you can break certain things up. Like, for example, if you were to, okay, like right here, the number 5 and 7. Okay, 5 and 7 equals 12. But if we were to do it in a place value, like a thing, your 10s, your 1s, we can't put the 12, I don't have a pencil. A teacher who doesn't have a pencil, imagine that. So you can't put 12 in one of the blocks. You have to end up putting a 2 and a 1 because, remember our little dots? Remember there can only be 9 dots in the 1's place, 9 dots in the 10's place before we have to bump it up. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So the thing is, we have a set of 10 right here. That set of 10 gets bumped over to the 10's place, which leaves us 2 1's. So if you have a 10, 110 plus 2 1's, that gives you 12. Okay, so that's what they're saying up here. Like 300s is equal to 200s, which is right because you have 200 plus 200, and then 10 tenths. 10 times 10 is 100. So basically, it's a lot of different ways to write a number. And to be honest, it can confuse you. So we're not even going to pay attention to it. But we are going to have to do it down here. Okay. Let's say, which of the equations represent regrouping needed for the problem? Circle all that apply. All right. So, this is going to be fun. Oops, sorry. 1 second. I lost my page. I got a fan on beside me, and it's blowing my papers to the way. It's not what I need. This is not. This is weird. It doesn't match up with what's in the book. That's weird. Okay. So, because they had to borrow from that. Okay. So, we have to borrow from the 1. Okay. So, we're borrowing from 100. So, we're borrowing from 100. Okay. Which is 10 tenths. Okay. So, that's. All right. And how I did that is because we're going to have to borrow from right here to here. Okay. That's fine. And then we have to borrow with the 2. So that's 2,000. 2,000 is equal to, that would turn in, okay, that would turn into a 1. Okay, that would equal 1,000 plus 10 hundreds. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. This is very confusing, and I don't really think that this is something that we would have to necessarily know. But I do believe that the answer is B and C. And we're just going to go with that. Okay. So now this is the part that we need to make sure that we understand. Subtracting. So let's just line it up. And subtract. Okay, I can subtract 1 from 4, which is 3. I cannot subtract 9 from 3. So I'm going to borrow from the 1 right here, make that a 0. Because I borrowed, this 3 turns into 13. 9 minus 13 is 4. 0 minus 0 is 0. I cannot take 6 away from 2. Borrow, this turns into a 4. This turns into 12. 12 minus 6 is 6. And then 1. 16,043. All right, now, that was your lesson part. Let's get to our practice and skill. Practice and skill, we are subtracting. Now, here's the deal. I made a mistake. So, what we're going to do right now is anything like that, because we're only doing to the tens place. I put the wrong paper in the packet. So, the tens place. So, I'm just going to mark these out so we don't do them. All right. So, you're only required to do to the tens place right there. Okay, let's look at it. Remember what I said yesterday, that with the decimal, the most important thing with adding and subtracting decimals is that we line up the decimal each and every time. Now, we can use this as an example. Even though the numbers didn't line up like that, like there's nothing here, they lined them up like this because there's a decimal there. If there wasn't a decimal, then the numbers will be lined up a little differently. But if this right here ever happens, just put a 0 in the box. You can just do that and work it that way. All right, let's go over here and look. 632 and 1/10 minus 467 and 5/10. Now I cannot take 5 away from 1. So I have to borrow from over here. That turns into a 1. This turns into 11. 5 from 11 is 6. I'm going to drop my decimal. I cannot take 7 away from 1. So I need to borrow. Turns into a 2. This turns into 11. 7 if you take 7 away from 11, you should get 4. I cannot take 6 away from 2, and 12 minus 6 is 6, and 1. 164 and 6/10. All right, next one. I have 92 and 7/10 minus 28 and 4/10. All right, so 7 minus 4 is 3. I'm going to drop my decimal. I cannot take 8 away from 2. Borrow from this one, turns into an 8, 12. Okay, here we go. I can take 1 from 9, it's 8. Drop the decimal. I cannot take 3 from 1. Borrow. Sorry, do it up here. Turns into a 4. Borrow. So it's just like you're subtracting, guys. That decimal doesn't do anything wrong with you. All right, 5. Because 0 from, I'm going to do that decimal right there. I cannot take that, so I'm going to move it. All right. So what I want you to do is finish the rest of this, 5 through 10. Take your time. Make sure you move. Just drop that decimal down, guys. Just drop it. That's all you got to do. Drop it. All right, guys. I will see y'all next week. Be safe. Stay out of trouble.